Let me tell you, oh my friends, about this joy I'm living in. Let me take the mic, go on and testify how I was dead and then I came to life. No more living in the dark of night. Now everything's alright. I've been changed, I've been saved, brand new day. I've been changed, I've been changed. Tell me why would I turn back now? There's no end to the love I found. Future's bright and there ain't no doubt. I've been changed, I've been changed. All my heartbreak fades away like a book when you turn the.
Hey guys, I'm going to chapel and I'm going all by myself. Welcome to chapel. It's a bit quiet today, but just want to welcome you.
Hello and welcome to chapel, everyone.
Well, here we are, the last week of term and our last chapel for the term. It's a bit strange, nobody's here. I've got all my essentials behind me, but anyway. So, yep, come and join us all for this last chapel. Get on the lounge together and, yeah, welcome here today. Let's have a great chapel together. Got a message for you.
So it's been a crazy term and I've been asked to share my highlight for term one, but let me tell you, I'm sure a lot of your highlights for this term has been the fact that you actually get to work from home and play a little bit more Xbox on the sneaky, don't you? But I know for me, a highlight for this term has been family time, having time, with my little baby daughter and time with Dad in his last moments here with us on Earth. So that's been a highlight, a hard highlight, but a good highlight for me. But yeah, a good question to ask yourself. What's a highlight for you? You pause this video and go, what's my highlight for this term? Is it playing Xbox? Is it playing PS2? Is it watching so much YouTube that you just don't know what you're doing with your life? No. What's your highlight?
I think my highlight for term one would have to be the WOW. Having our guest speaker Murray Hunter here. He really laid out a great case for Christ and a case for God. He didn't lay it out just as in his thoughts or his opinion. You know, he gave us facts and figures, the biblical response, the historical facts that go with it, and I think that's a real good thing for us. So my highlight is no doubt, you know, I believe in God, and that just reminds me that, you know, when Jesus walked on this earth, you know, he wasn't just in the Bible part of it. There's a historical parts to it as well, and historians wrote about him. You know, he's in other books, and it paints a great picture. So yeah. That's my highlight is, Murray Hunter for WOW.
So my highlight for term one was definitely going on the year 8 camp with all you fantastic year 8 students. We had a blast and we faced our fears together as a team, and we did some fun and crazy things, and I enjoyed it immensely.
Okay, I've got a bit of a Q&A from last week. So we had a few things come through on our live video last week and a few questions that we didn't get to finish. Just before I start out, it's a bit of a shout out to Amelia. It was her birthday last week and I missed that one, so happy birthday Amelia for last week. So on to the Q&A questions. One of them is, does God still protect us even if we don't believe in him? So the short answer to that from last week was, yep, you know, God does still protect us, you know, and the fact that there's a lot of people in this world that, you know, don't believe in God, yet they still live a life that is full and prosperous and in different ways, happy. I suppose part of that question should be, why believe in God, and I think that's probably one of the big ones to focus on. And for my life, I would have to look back from a life that didn't believe in God to believing in God. And, my life was okay, without God. I get that. But I've really had a prosperous life since believing in God. And prosperous, not just what I call financial or all those things in life. It's probably more a prosperous one here because, it's given me some of the answers to, where I came from, for in the beginning God created the heavens and earth and everything that's in them. So it gives me that answer, which is good. And, why am I here, is a really good one. And, I reckon that we're all put here, to serve each other, to look after each other. God says to us, the two big commandments are, he boiled them down into two when Jesus was here, and they were love God and love your fellow man. And I think they're two really important things to think about in our lives. Loving God, because of, he's our maker, and loving our fellow man because he made them, and it's like being part of one big family. In a future, the future one is, so where I came from, why I'm here, where I'm going. Oftentimes we think death is the end, but God, when Jesus comes down, we're just about to celebrate it at Easter. Jesus comes here and he raises to life. He is raised to life on the third day. It's the thing, one of the big things we celebrate at Easter time was his death and resurrection. It shows that he is in control of death. He has defeated it. And if there's one thing that we want in this world, is that defeated. So does God watch over us even if we don't care for him? Yes, like any parent, we watch over our children no matter what. And he, as a loving maker, he loves each of us, no matter what, no matter where we are. He allows us free choice. He allows us to choose him or not to choose him. But yeah, will he watch over us and care for us? Of course he will. He is bound to that because he's our creator. Just like for my own children, I would watch over them every day of my life and give everything I have for them, no matter what. Yeah, the second question on the Q&A was, how do you curb addiction? We just want to name a few addictions. Probably the basic simple ones that we all think about are alcohol and drugs. And they're not simple by any means, but often there's TV, video games, food addictions, money addictions, internet porn. There's so much now that takes our time and energy and traps us into a world of addictions. So how do we curb that? How do we stop that? And truly, the test of willpower comes in here. You often hear about the person that, throws the cigarettes away, never to smoke again, and often that's really the simple answer. Is oftentimes we have to flee from whatever we're addicted to. We have to find a new pathway and get away from it. So if it's sitting in front of the TV, just to name a simple thing, then the TV needs to be turned off, and we need to go for a walk and look in nature. As simple as that sounds, that will help us beat our addiction. I'm a believer in the one true God. I believe in God with all my heart. And I believe that he's given me the reason not to be addicted to anything. Because he shows that he is the creator of life and the giver of life. He holds us in his hands, it says, he watches over us. And I think that he has helped me curb many of my addictions. And I was addicted to TV, that's why I did talk about that. Whereas now, I just think, you know, I don't need it, you know, so I spend my time reading. You know, I love going to the beach. I love going for a walk, being in nature, being with friends and family and talking and sharing things. And when you start a new pathway, that's how you'll curb and beat that addiction. You know, and what you got to do is start a good pathway, a positive pathway. You know, and what I mean by that, if, for instance, if it is computer gaming, then you might have to get rid of the computer game, get rid of it altogether. You can come back to it later on, but if you remove it from your life and then put something else there, you've got to put something positive and good there. You know, and the positive and good things generally are take up surfing, take up bike riding, skateboarding. It could be, you know, going for a walk in nature. It could be reading books that you've never read before. You know what? And when you do that, your heart and mind will be changed and opened, and that addiction will leave you, and it'll be something then that you can go back and control in a proper way. Some things we should never put back in our lives, some addictions we should never go back to. You know, but other things, you know, I watch TV now, and when I don't like it, I turn it off. You know, whereas growing up, I could never turn it off. You know, but now, switch it off, go and do the gardening, go do something different, and I love that. So truly curbing addiction is going to start here. You know, in our own mind, we want to get rid of it. You know, we've got to choose that we're going to get rid of it, and then we've got to action it, and we've got to start doing something different. When we get drawn to that, we've got to be able to defeat that voice in our head that keeps saying, you know, I've got to play this game, I've got to play this game. And when you turn that button off and go for a bike ride, a walk, or whatever it is, you're on the pathway to beating that addiction. Hope that helps.
Face the cookie. The human face is composed of many muscles, with two large groups that help make a smile or frown. In this challenge, the contestant must move a total of 2 cookies from their forehead to their mouth using only their facial muscles. If a cookie drops, the contestant may reset another cookie on the forehead and try again. Failure to complete this task in 60 seconds may result in elimination.
Okay guys, so it's time for a bit of a break. Thanks Mr. Walsh for sharing those answers to the Q&A. And it's time for one of the things that we do in chapel sometimes, occasionally. It's called Minute to Win It, and we're going to do Face the Cookie. So a bit of sugar just to give you some stamina for the rest of this chapel. What you need to do is go and get a packet of cookies. Do it with whoever you're with, whether it's with your family, brothers, sisters, mum or dad, whoever it might be. Have a bit of fun with this game. Do it together and see if you can achieve it in the 60 seconds. That will be coming up shortly. But check out the video to know what you got to do.
The game begins in 3, 2, 1.
Hey everyone, coming up to Easter time. You know, as a kid growing up, loved the Easter bunny. Still do love the Easter bunny. Not the little bunny in the backyard, but well, sometimes he is in the backyard hidden. I love those chocolates and all of that. And yeah, that was really good times as kids, remembering that and doing that. But also remember when I was a kid, you know, like that we used to remember God and Jesus, what he did, you know, and what Easter was all about. Yeah, I remember going to church with Mum when I was a kid and celebrating Easter, the Easter Mass service, you know, and I still celebrate it today now, you know. Like I said, I love the Easter chocolates, there's no doubt about that, and still have those all the time. But truly, Easter is about the coming King. You know, when Jesus comes from heaven, you know, and he brings heaven down to earth as a baby, and we remember that moment where he gave his life on the cross. He rose again on that Sunday to bring life, you know, and to bring hope, you know, and truly the meaning of Easter now has so much more importance. And often in this time we think about hope, and, you know, I'm thinking about the King. You know, I'm dressed here as the King from last week. Not a great looking king, mind you, but a king nonetheless. But Jesus, you know, he was the true King. You know, he was the King of heaven, and he came down to earth to bring hope to a world that was struggling, to a world that needed new life, that needed more than just eggs, you know, chocolate eggs. He brought the resurrection, you know, that's why we celebrate. You know, he rose on that third day to give life, that he could defeat death, you know, and that's what we all long for here. Have a great Easter.
So Easter's important to me because it reminds me of the great privilege that I have being alive, because the reality is if it wasn't for the sacrifice of Jesus, I wouldn't be. So sometimes we take life for granted, and Easter is always a time of reflection where we can think about the value of life and the value that God places on our lives. The value of our lives is so great, so powerful and strong in God's eyes that he was willing to sacrifice his son, and Jesus was willing to lay down his life so that we could have life. You know, COVID-19 has highlighted in my life the need and importance of living together in community. You know, the campus is pretty quiet. You know, there's staff that are working here, but the reality is that it's a really quiet place to be now. Usually there's nearly 600 students running around this campus, but it's quiet now. And yeah, it highlights the fact that we are designed to live in community.
Crisis at the moment has highlighted a lot of things in our life, and we get to practice things that we don't get to practice all the time. I missed that one. But, you know, we get to practice all those things that we want to do. And I think there's probably some good things that we should look at in that it's a chance to take up something that we've always wanted to do. Maybe just meeting together as a family or eating around a table, but, you know, practicing, you know, the guitar again. You know, if ever you wanted to be a guitarist, this is the time. You've got time to do it. So it's highlighted a lot of things that are the things that aren't important has been shown up, and the things that are more important have come to the top. And I think it's time to practice on the things that are more important.
So it is a crazy time, and this whole COVID-19 coronavirus business, you know, it's really highlighted, hey, like, well, I think it's really highlighted that we actually are social beings and we like to hang out with mates. We actually like to, be together, and we're missing that, I think, as a society. I know I am. But I'm also an introvert, so I'm kind of liking the alone time as well. But I have a bit of an extrovert side that's missing people as well. So it's highlighted the importance of community and family and hanging out with mates. Yeah. Favorite scripture is this. Jesus says, you'll be known as my disciples if you love one another. He says, a new commandment I give you, love one another as I have loved you. In this way, people know that you are my disciples. In other words, by the love that we show one another, people will look upon us and go, wow, they must be followers of God. We're pretty bad at that, at loving each other really, really well. But that's something I strive every day, is to try and be more and more loving. And to my family, to my friends, but even to my enemies, Jesus challenges us to do that. Not that I really have any enemies, but yeah, just to be more and more loving and accepting. And yeah, it's my favourite verse. So I hope you guys have a great Easter break, and yeah, farewell. Yes. All right, see ya, bye.
Yeah, look, I really love this story it's in the book of Psalms, and it's chapter 23, and it's a psalm of King David, and it talks about him being a shepherd, and he's walking through a valley of fear and hopelessness in one sense, but he paints out a beautiful picture that he fears no evil, nothing that comes shall he be afraid of, because he trusts in God. So I really love Psalms 23. You should check it out. Really good reading at this time.
One of my favourite Bible promises is found in Matthew chapter 28 verse 20. It's where Jesus says, I will be with you until the very end of the age. And so, this Bible verse reveals to us that God will be with all his people through all time, and that he won't leave us nor forsake us. That's a really awesome thing, to know that we are not alone, that Jesus is with us wherever we are and wherever we are forever. Here goes a couple of our little friends that come and visit us from time to time. These really cool little lorikeets. Don't you love the colours on these guys? Man, nature's so cool. And God's design and his colours that he put into these incredible birds is just amazing. Woo!
We all long for the world to be good, for people to live in peace, act with love and justice. But there's a problem. Something compels us humans to constantly wreak havoc and destruction instead, and we call this evil.
And from the Bible's point of view, evil ruins things in at least two ways. There's a direct effect of our evil, like when someone steals from another person, they've created injustice.
Yeah, therefore, they owe something to make it right.
But there's another indirect effect of evil, because they've also ruined the environment of the relationship, creating a lack of trust, there's emotional damage. It's like vandalism, and they need to make that right, too.
Now, many people believe, hey, God is good. He should be the one to just get rid of all the evil in the world.
But let's be honest. I mean, the evil that I see everywhere out there, it's the same evil that's inside of me. We have all contributed, and we keep doing it.
And so this kind of puts us in a bind. If God's going to rid the world of evil, he'll have to get rid of us.
And this is what's so remarkable about the story of the Bible. This God is so good that not only is he going to rid the world of evil, he's going to do it without destroying humanity.
So how is he going to do that?
Well, early in the story of the Bible, we're introduced to this practice of animal sacrifice, which I know, it seems weird to us, but for the Israelites, it was a very powerful symbol of God's justice and of his grace. So remember, I'm a contributor to the evil that's in the world. I should be removed. But God is allowing this animal's life to be a substitute. It's symbolically dying in my place. And the biblical word for this is atonement, which means to cover over someone's death. But there's a second part to this ritual. Remember, evil also causes this relational vandalism. And in the Bible, this idea is described as polluting or defiling the land and making it unclean. So the priest would symbolically wash away the vandalism by sprinkling the animal's blood in different parts of the temple.
So the animal's blood is cleaning things?
Well, remember, this is a symbol, and it's a symbol that we're not used to. The blood represents life. And the sprinkling of the blood is this representation of how God is cleaning away these indirect consequences of evil in their community. In the Bible, this process is called purification. And so the temple and the land now become a clean space where God and his people can live together in peace.
So this ritual makes things right between Israel and God.
And more than that, the Israelites experience God's love and his grace through these symbols. And by being forgiven, ideally, this would compel them to become people of love and grace too.
Right, that's the ideal, but it wasn't always happening.
Right. So the prophet Isaiah, for example, he talks a lot about this. He opens his book by saying that the continual sacrifices of the Israelites had become meaningless because they were also allowing great evil in their midst, ignoring the poor and the oppressed. Even the Israelite kings were distorting justice. But Isaiah looked forward to a day when a new king from the line of David would come and deal with evil, but in a surprising way. The king would become a servant. And not just serve, but also suffer and die for the evil committed by his own people. And his life would be offered as a sacrifice.
And this is the promise Jesus believed he was fulfilling. He's the King of Israel, suffering and dying on the cross.
In fact, Jesus himself used Isaiah's words when he said that he came to serve and give his life as a ransom for many. And that word ransom refers to his sacrifice of atonement. And so all over the New Testament, we hear about how Jesus' death was an atoning sacrifice for us. It covered the debt that humans owe God for contributing to all of the evil and death in his world. But the New Testament authors also talk about Jesus' death as providing purification. And so we hear about Jesus' blood as a symbol of his life, having this ability to wash away the vandalism that evil has caused in us and around us, so we can now live at peace with God.
So that's the meaning behind Jesus' death. But there's more to the story.
Yeah, the New Testament makes this powerful claim that Jesus' death was not final. He rose from the dead. And so he's the sacrifice who broke the power of death and evil, which means that he lives on to offer his life to anyone who will accept it. He is the perfect sacrifice to which all the previous sacrifices were pointing all along.
So because of Jesus, the early Christians stopped participating in the ritual of animal sacrifice.
But they were given new rituals. There are two that Jesus taught his followers to perform. The first is called baptism. Just as Jesus died, so going into the water becomes this personal connection you now have to his death. And in coming out of the water, you, so to speak, come back to life with Jesus. So baptism is the sacred ritual that joins your story to Jesus' death and his resurrection. The second ritual is called the Lord's Supper, which is a reenactment of Jesus' last meal with his disciples, and he used bread and wine to portray his coming death as a sacrifice. And so now, followers of Jesus, they take the bread and the cup regularly to remember and to participate in the power of Jesus' death and in his life.
So these rituals, they remind us of God's love and encourage us to live a life of love and grace.
But they do more than that. They connect us to a new life source. The very power that brought Jesus back from the dead is the same power that can deal with the evil in our own lives and transform us into people who lead lives of love and peace.
Well, that's the end of chapel and this term. Praying that you guys stay safe over the break. We won't be going anywhere, obviously, and we're staying home, staying around. Keep up the exercise, keep getting out in sunshine and fresh air. So good for us. So keep doing those things. And if you're worried or you're scared or anxious or anything like that, have a look in the Bible and look for the promises that God has there for you, and they're promises that he says to prosper you, to give you a good life, to give you hope and meaning, and I think that's perfect for this time. So go looking for it. Have a really good Easter, special time, where heaven came down to earth, and showed us, a great message and great life, great hope for the future. God bless you all. See ya.
Happy Easter, stay safe, and God bless.